Swinburne University of Technology.
I think picking up from what Chris said about Alfred Health or about the medical profession, I might torture the analogy slightly. Lawyers, like cardiologists, know quite a lot about hearts. It is true that some don't have one, but actually most do. The problem is they don't want others to know that they have them, or they don't want really to find out what they know about their own heart. And for heart, we could translate to EQ. So that I am in a profession which 25 years ago was not dissimilar, but for technology, to the trade of forefathers. We stand in 2015 in a rapidly changing legal economy, an economy that will never be the same again for a profession that is all about it being the same again. We work in an environment where our youth, the very clever, much cleverer golden key holders who are all on their journey somewhere on which we're a stop for some time, are also demanding of those who lead the organisation things, commitment, EQ, that most of the people who have that role either don't want people to know they have or don't know yet that they have themselves. Clayton Utz, like every one of the large law firms, is a $400 to $500 million business per annum. At our height, we as a firm had 220 national partners. That's 220 cats that you have to herd on any given day. And oddly enough, in an organisation crying out for layered leadership, EQ leadership, the people who ended up leading the firm, God bless their cotton socks, were those that either were there because they've been pushed forward or there for all the wrong reasons. They weren't there because we had grown them as leaders. So that everything that Chris describes, everything that we've talked about with Fred in terms of the need for communication through to being confronted by what you might be capable, you take that and you place that with a group of alpha profile individuals, you pop them in a room with Michelle and you see what happens. It's like a really weird science experiment. Because what you bring out of those people from day one is fear. It's promulgated, it's communicated across the spectrum from overt, voluble engagement, guess who, through to people who want to say nothing. These are leading Australian practitioners in their field, but God help them, they want to say nothing for the 3 days they're there because they can get found out. And it's almost like a crash. So it's disarming. It's full of fear. It's meant to be collaborative, but there are barriers that are so, it isn't so much that they don't want to let them break down, they don't have the tools, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the language set to understand what that will actually involve. And so transformational culture at a major law firm, and I'll use mine because every firm is different, every organisation is different, is actually about taking those people and introducing them to concepts which you might think they would readily understand and hold on to, but which either they've never encountered, are terrified of, or they reckon it'll be the end of life as they know it. Alcohol is a very important part of this exercise. I just want to stress that, particularly with lawyers. The earlier the better in some cases. And I make light of that because as a partnership, you're sitting with people with whom you share risk, a lot of risk. And so you are asking them to surrender a level of control, a level of distance, and a level of personal territory that in the case of the program we went through, we'd never done before. It's, I hate to say the word transgenerational, but it's partners who are at the young end of the spectrum, now, 3, 4, 5 years old. No, actually, they are now 31, 32, 33, through to our dinosaurs, of which I'm becoming one, who are at that very outer edge where they have spent their entire life in a model that has generally worked the same way the whole time. And so when you put that dynamic together, creating a common reference set, a language, a template, focusing back on what they want for the firm to get them to talk about what they want for themselves and those around them, is not necessarily an easy exercise. It's iterative, it takes time, and it's something you come at in chunks. You don't overdo it too quickly, because the very thing that Chris describes about, well, why would I want to listen to you? Don't you know I am? Haven't you read my blurb? Don't you understand I'm a senior partner or whatever? And you try that with Michelle for about 5 seconds and you get absolutely nowhere, because she just blinks at you and then moves on. And that's disarming at best, and they've never had that done to them. But yet for some, the door's opened. And for those of you who've been through it, and it's an old technique, it's been around a long time, Arthur had the idea many, many centuries ago, you put everyone in a circle. You take away from them hierarchy, tiering, command control. You ask them to not listen, but to speak, and to give not of technical thought, but of emotional thought. And for the first, 3 days, it's really uncomfortable. But everybody ultimately in that room, no matter what part of the partnership they came from, no matter what part of the technical law spectrum they sat on, everybody ultimately made a contribution. And large or small, it showed some growth in them. And more pleasingly, you could see it taken back into the organisation, taken back into the firm. For some, no more, I think, than a journey that allows them to be a slightly more EQ person in their immediate surrounds. And that's all you will get from them. But for some, transformational in the sense that they recognise not only did they have a capability to engage, but they had a desire to do so. And so we had younger partners terrified forever that they would be, dinosaurs by the time they got to command, being given roles because they put their hand up and said, I have a few ideas about how we might structure this part of our business. So that exercise, that small snippet, building on the idea of high-profile individuals being brought to an environment where they are invited to, given a set to contribute, and then ultimately it's not so scary to do so, there's a lot of academic stuff behind it. We can read it all, but actually it's relatively simple. You've just got to be prepared to go the journey, and the journey's the hard bit. It's like recovering from alcoholism in reverse. You've got to let go of a lot of things. So that's the experience in a law firm like mine. It won't be the same at everyone's, but certainly was ours.
So I want to deepen, and I'm sorry, Andrew.
Can I go any deeper? Is there any deeper to go?
I just want to ask, I did want to ask you, so what was your personal experience of that? I mean, you talked broadly about what happened. Were there any particular moments? Was there anything that you'd relate as a specific moment where you thought you were going to walk out? Because I'm hearing some of this for the first time myself, actually. It's good. And bad.
My personal experience is that I had long thought, silently, quietly, late at night, that I could and should and would probably usefully make a contribution in a leadership role. But I wasn't going to be presumptive. I was going to wait my turn. I wasn't necessarily going to put my hand up. I wasn't going to take a step forward, because of course you're chosen for such roles. You don't self-select. I was also confronted by the idea that I was surrounded by people who were infinitely cleverer, more articulate, if that's possible, certainly less prolix than I am, but also those who had a grasp of the legal economy that I would never have. What could I bring to it? And so the leadership program we ran was as much for me about bringing what I thought I had to offer together with the courage to do so, and taking those things, just to do a simple thing like put my hand up for election to our national board, because that was an area in which I thought, given my particular skill set, I could probably bring a level of something, gravitas, balance, fair-mindedness, a view about the youth of our profession, matched with a view of people like me, a desperate desire to bring diversity to play in the legal economy, given the deep-seated misogyny that we've seen forever. But none of that really was something I self-promoted. That came out of the exercise. Not helped by a few terrifying moments, but possibly helped in every way. Like, for example, sitting with the 5 most senior partners in your firm and doing a collective exercise where you had to offer, we're about to do one of Michelle's famous phrases, feedback is a gift. Those who've not worked with Michelle, feedback is a gift. Make of that what you will, ladies and gentlemen, but it is a gift. When you've got 5 of the most senior people offering you that feedback with no notice, it's a gift with an edge. And then you have to give it back to them. And the deal is, by that stage, you've drunk enough alcohol. No, probably not, but you are disinhibited enough, to be honest. And it's no mean place to go when you spent your entire life, and I'm a litigator, I spent my life in contest, where you armour up for contest, where you armour up to manage the judge, to manage your opponent, to manage your client. Where you're there, it's all about keeping people at a particular distance because that's where they should be. And then in that environment, you actually have to surrender all of that. So I think that that particular event for me was many things. Illuminating is possibly the nicest thing I'll say about it.
Thanks so much, Andrew. I really appreciate your willingness to talk about that.
This has been a Swinburne production.